Alan Trautman on the Fishbowl. Welcome.
Hey Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Oh, good. I'm glad to be here.
Here we are at Horror Realm 2017, March Madness.
Okay, it is pretty crazy around here. I always love watching everybody's costumes, and there's one guy walking around looks like he had his head caught in a radiator.
Yeah, I think I saw one of the guys dressed up from the Silent Hill video games. He had the big helmet on, carrying the big axe around.
Oh, is that what that is?
I think, yeah, it's from the Silent Hill games.
Yeah, it looks like he just stepped out of a steampunk time machine.
Yeah.
Where he found a tuba that got wrapped around his head wrong.
Right. Awesome. Well, I like to usually start off the show with asking my guests, what are some of your favorite films and what got you interested in film?
Oh, wow. I'm not a big horror fan myself. I am a fan of good movies in general, though, and there have been a number of really great horror films out there, like The Exorcist. It was still one of the scariest movies ever made in my mind. That's a fantastic film. There was was it The Nursery? The Orphanage?
Orphanage,
yeah. Spanish language film?
Yeah.
Oh, terrific film.
Yeah, that I believe is Guillermo del Toro.
Yes. Oh, was it really?
Yes.
Oh, it didn't seem like. Okay, great. Yeah, that explains it, because that was a terrific film.
Yeah.
Well, all of his films are pretty awesome.
He's
Pan's
absolutely
Labyrinth
phenomenal.
was-
Pan's Labyrinth.
yeah.
I mean, the Hellboy movies are
Yeah,
phenomenal.
those are great.
It's like, speaking of Hellboy, I just watched Hellboy 2 this morning, and that film. It's like, I really like Hellboy 1, but there's something about Hellboy 2 it's like they go more into the world that
and those worlds are just crammed
Right.
with information, just visual
Right.
ideas,
Right.
and just an imagination that just does not stop. Sometimes the stories are a bit of a mess, but
Yeah.
That sort of happened with movies like Dark Crystal, where there was a completely realized, just crazy detailed world, but a little bit at the expense of story, of comprehensibility and things like that.
The Dark Crystal, Jim Henson was this phenomenal person and created some phenomenal and extraordinary puppets for his films, and the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth will always be some of my top favorite movies from my childhood. I mean, David Bowie was phenomenal. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Connelly was great at such a young age.
Yeah, it's another movie that just
Totally
like Guillermo del Toro's movies,
Yeah.
just exist in their own sphere. From the mind of a truly unique talent.
I mean, I just saw, actually shared on Facebook, that it was, I believe, the 25th anniversary of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, how about that? I know all those guys. When we filmed Dinosaurs, when we first started the rehearsals on the TV series, the dinosaurs' heads weren't complete yet, so we were rehearsing with the heads from the turtles. we were training on the turtles' heads, because most of us had never used the system before.
Right.
So it was that was quite an experience.
Now, Dinosaurs was one of my top favorite shows growing up.
Oh, great!
It was so
Mine too.
hysterical. The concept in general is just so out there that I'm like, why can't we do more stuff like this?
Yeah, well, it was tough to get done even then,
Right.
because it was so expensive. I think back then it was
Right.
the most expensive half hour on TV at like $1 million an episode, which is nothing now.
Right,
but
right.
still, we almost got canceled, 3 days into production because it was so expensive. It took us something like 7 days to shoot the pilot,
Right.
which is unheard of for
Right.
a half-hour sitcom. So so doing something like that again would not be easy.
Right.
And of course, these days it would be mostly CGI.
Yeah. And I have to say, that disappoints me that CG is used so much now that it seems like it's overused. And, there's something about practical effects that, made the film look a little more real. It felt a little more real. You were more invested in the characters because you could physically see them and know that you could touch them.
People's eyes have evolved over tens of thousands of years and brains have evolved over tens of thousands of years to recognize real physics in the real world. And if you're doing CG work and you don't get the physics quite right, how things fall with gravity, how weight is carried in a body,
right.
What jiggles, what doesn't.
Right.
Your mind registers all that and it just rings hollow.
Right.
Now, granted, they've got a lot better with that in the last few years. But, to do it on a TV series budget is not easy.
Right.
And, there are some shows that get awfully close. Man, I just saw an episode of, you watch The Expanse?
Yeah.
On Sci-Fi?
Yeah.
Great series.
Yeah.
They just did an episode where they had this CGI creature. Are you caught up on? I don't want to give anything away here.
Yeah, I'm caught up.
But he has the scene with a creature who is blue. I will say that much. And I thought that was a really marvelous scene.
Right.
And I'm thinking, all right, TV is really coming a long way here.
Right.
So. And, even the show that I'm working on now, Splash and Bubbles on PBS Kids, you look at it and you're not quite, if you don't know how we shot it, how it was made, you wouldn't quite know if there was some puppeteering going on, or if it was all CG, or if it was traditionally animated, or if it was, what's going on with that? And so I think in that sense it's kind of a successful hybrid creation that simply exists to make the world work in its own terms, and I'm very pleased with the way it's turning out.
That's awesome. That yet another show PBS has produced that is phenomenal. I mean,
there's nothing like it on TV right now. I mean, we've all seen kids shows that are computer generated. And they just look like very simple cartoons, which is what they are. This one looks like something else, and it's hard to quite pinpoint exactly what's going on there. But we shoot that like a live show. It's shot all at once, with all the performers together and on the stage doing all the movements, and all the faces and all the voices, and it's pretty impressive for the most part. There are other characters that are traditionally keyframed, so it's a very interesting kind of hybrid, and it's those types of things that really help push the technology forward. So who knows what dinosaurs would look like today if we were to redo it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, one of the greatest movies to paved the way for both animatronic and CG was the original Jurassic Park.
Oh, yeah. We were shooting dinosaurs when Jurassic Park came out. In fact, I remember the day we went to see it because our studio was like 10 minutes from Universal Studios. And so there were a group of us who we came in the morning, and then they said, well, we're changing the schedule around. We're not going to really need you till 4 o'clock or whatever it is. So we all ran over to Universal City Walk to watch Jurassic Park. And we were all sitting there going, uh-oh. This is the writing on the wall for animatronics. This is it. Oh, my God. They've done it. They've created full CG characters now, and okay, we're screwed. It wasn't quite that drastic, but it certainly was a period of adjustment.
Well, I mean, the whole 2000s was more CG versus animatronic, and there, I think in the mid late 2010s, we're starting to go back to we're using CG a lot still, but I think Hollywood's starting to realize that CG all the time just doesn't look good and it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
And it gets overused. It always has to be in deference to the story. It always has to be done in a way that doesn't call attention to itself.
Right.
It's an effect. It's not necessarily why you go to see it. I mean, yeah, there's always part of you that just wants to see cool stuff.
Right.
But you can't do that for just 2 hours before it just falls apart.
Right. One of my also favorite things that growing up was animation. Like 2D animation, and we don't have enough of that anymore. And I kind of just have to say this because I'm talking with you. I graduated from Point Park last year for screenwriting.
Oh.
And I'm working on actually. You're going to hear this a lot on the Fishbowl during the coverage of the Horror Realm convention, but I happen to have George Romero's desk, and I'm writing my screenplays on George Romero's desk, and one of them happens to be it's definitely adult-themed cartoon show called Grr! A Zombie Love Story, and it's basically combining all of the zombie movie universes into one show. And
nice.
I've written Tarman into the show as a homeless zombie, and he's holding a sign that says, work for brains.
Exactly, that's fantastic. I have a picture on my wall when we wrapped dinosaurs of Misha, Michelin Sisti, who was also one of the turtles inside the suit. Inside the Sid Turtlepuss character, holding up a sign says, "We'll work for food," because we were all going to be out of work pretty soon.
Right.
Oh my God, that's a funny idea. I love that.
Yeah, it's taking place.
Do you get possessed by George's spirit?
I actually think I do. I think I do because I've written 2 zombie scripts. And I'm developing Creepshow into an anthology TV series.
Oh, sweet!
So
right.
I think George's aura is definitely flowing through me through the desk.
That's fantastic.
So that's a story in itself.
Oh, great! Well, good luck with that. Let me know how. Let me know if Tarman ever makes it back to animated form. I'd love to see that.
Oh, I have a feeling he definitely will. So the return of Tarman, as well as the Trash Zombie, and how many other famous zombies. I mean, really, my protagonist, his name is Gur Karloff.
Okay.
Because the idea essentially with Gur Zombie Love Story is that Night of the Living Dead happened.
Right.
And we just now coexist with zombies, but zombies still do everything zombies do.
Right.
But it's just accepted.
Okay.
So
sure. Sure.
It's a crazy world. Murder happens all the time, but
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? There's zombies. So
you can't execute zombies.
Right. They're people too.
Or if you do, it just gets messy.
Right.
I guess.
Right.
Funny. Yeah, it reminds me of Greg the Bunny, where puppets are just another type of...
Exactly. That's actually one of the inspirations.
Citizens.
Yeah. That show was hysterical.
I worked a little bit on that. I wasn't a regular, but I worked a few days here and there on that. That was a fun set to be on. I like those people. Dan Milano's a great guy. Anyway, sorry.
No, quite all right. So, if you had to pick, let's say, your top 3 favorite films, doesn't have to be horror. Just of your own personal favorites, what would they be?
I'm trying to think of films that, if they were on TV and I happened to be walking by, I would be compelled to sit down and watch through to the end. So, by those standards, I would have to think of films like, and I don't know that I'm going to limit it to 3, but just off the top of my head, there are films like Jaws and Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's like, you can't stop watching that if it's on. Mary Poppins does that to me. If Mary Poppins is on, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, this is pretty darn good.
That's interesting. That we can talk about that, because what do you think of them remaking Mary Poppins?
Are they doing that?
Yeah, Emily Blunt is supposedly going to play Mary Poppins.
Oh, all right. Well, she'll probably do a great job.
She's great. She's great in anything she does.
Yeah.
But...
And if she did it, if she's doing it, then that means they probably have a pretty good script attached to it. And, that was certainly done in a different era.
Right.
And it's a product of its generation. But I think there's certainly a story in there about Mr. Banks, which is what the story really is about anyway, that can apply to today. So it'd be, unless they're really doing it as a period piece back then, but with a sensibility.
Updated twist.
Yeah. So, or just from a more modern vantage point, even if it's set in that period.
Right.
So, whatever they're going to do, I'd be interested to see. Obviously, I'm not completely neutral about this because I did the remake of Jungle Book. So, any other Disney movies that Disney wants to remake, sure, go right ahead. Maybe I'll work on them. So. Look, people can complain about doing remakes, but it's not like you're burning all the copies of the original. It'll always exist. And
I also think it depends on what you're remaking. Because like when they remade Point Break, there was no reason to remake Point Break.
Yeah, I know. I know.
When they remake a lot of these horror movies, like A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, there's no reason to remake them because you're not going to capture what the originals had. Right. It was part of a certain time period with a certain thing going on, and certain master filmmakers that were doing that stuff at that time. You're not going to recapture what those films had, but remaking films like Mary Poppins or one of my all-time favorite 80s movies is The Highlander, and they're talking about remaking that, and that's a film that I honestly think deserves to be remade. I mean, Highlander was great for its time, but with the writing today and the technology and I like Queen, but not that much.
There's a. So what I hear you saying is that there's a germ of an idea in that movie that maybe in its 80s shell might not be the most currently the best expression of it. So we could probably do a little better.
Right.
Yeah. And there's certainly a reason enough to want to remake it.
Right. And I think they're even remaking Scarface with DiCaprio, which should be quite interesting. I'm very excited to see what that was because, the original Scarface, it's a product of the 80s.
Yeah. Very much so. And it's Brian De Palma. Very idiosyncratic filmmaking style.
Right. But I mean, if we'll be
honest,
I love. Right,
but
I love
De
it
Palma.
too. It's very De Palma. I mean, but I mean, the one that I like more is Carlito's Way. That's really what Scarface should have been.
Yeah.
And something about Carlito's Way, just the vibe of that movie.
And that was
also De Palma. Yeah.
Was that made before or after?
After.
Oh, that's interesting.
That was the 90s, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I liked Carlito's Way. That was a really interesting film. Man, he loves doing set pieces at Grand Central Terminal.
Yeah.
There's that whole sequence he does that's like one long tracking shot.
Right.
Where he's trying to evade them at the train station.
Right.
It's just brilliant.
Brilliant. I mean, and then, you know, here's, sorry, spoiler alert, he gets shot in the end, but, you know, just the stuff that he has to go through, you know, up with evading the mafia, you know, trying to escape, and then to get shot by, what's his name? John Leguizamo's character.
Leguizamo,
Yeah, Billy
who
from the
pops
Bronx.
back in,
Right, you know, and it's like, you know, to get shot after all that by a punk.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, it's a great ending because, you know, it shows that life, you know, there's no escape. You know, no matter.
Yeah.
You know,
it makes it more like a classic tragedy.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. A guy that just wanted to get out, but gets pulled back in. And it's like, it's funny. You know, I say that because pretty much Al Pacino says that line in Godfather Part 3. You know.
Course.
So, but yeah. I mean, Carlito's Way is a fantastic film. One of my all-time favorite Pacino films.
Yeah. That actually happens to have been on the TV when I was walking past in the living room once, and I was like, oh, this is a good movie, and I sat down and I watched the rest of it. But that was probably just because I hadn't seen it in so long.
Right.
But it was pretty gripping, and it was only the last half hour.
Right. So. And Sean Penn is amazing in that.
Yeah, Sean Penn was great. He's always great.
Right.
He's always great.
But I think that's a good place to stop.
Okay, fantastic.
Alan,
this has been fun.
This was really fun. Thank you for swimming in the bowl with me.
My pleasure. I'll get my snorkel next time. I can stay a little longer.
I would love that. We'll definitely do a follow-up interview.
All right, fantastic.
Awesome.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Sure thing.